Whew, that warning really got through. For this kind of movie,
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my... He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for a new release from this month. And no, it's not Challengers, guys, and it's the one that came out before I went and saw Abigail. The one that came out before Abigail. Yeah, the week before Abigail. And it's for one of A24's non-horror films, and it's one directed by Alex Garland, his newest film. That film is going to be for none other than 2024's Civil War. No, not like the old Civil War from historic times, and not Captain America. No. It's a new Alex Garland film from this month, from A24. A new kind of film. Yeah, so what's the plot of this movie? Well, this movie is set in a dystopian future America where a civil war is taking place. And it's pretty much this journey across all of that dystopian America. And we focus on this team of journalists because they're racing against time to go to Washington, D.C. before rebel fractions descend upon the White House to get a picture of the president. Yeah, so how was this film made? Well, it was around January 2022, 2 years ago, when Deadline reported Alex Garland signed on to write and direct the film for A24 with DNA Films, co-producing. The actors were eventually confirmed as well, such as Kirsten Dunst, Wayne Mora, Stephen McKinley Henderson, and Kelly Spenny, confirmed to star. And then, of course, Carl Gulsman was announced in April as part of the cast. And then in the May interview with the Daily Telegraph, the film was described by Garland as his companion piece for that other film he did called Men. Moving on. Then in the same interview, another actor, Sonia Mizuyo, was revealed as part of the cast, and apparently he's one of Alex Garland's frequent collaborators. So when it came to finally filming the movie, they began filming the movie in Atlanta on March 15, 2022, and then by May 2022, they moved on to London. When it came to the production budget, Civil War, the budget was ranged around $50 million, and it was now known as A24's most expensive movie. And it was shot partially on this DJI Ronin 40 camera, and the film's Washington, D.C. finale required months of planning, and now Garland cinematographer Rob Hardy holding a series of roundtable discussions with production designers like Katie Maxey, David Simpson, a military supervisor named Ray Mendoza, and a stunt coordinator named Jeff Dashnot. Yeah, and apparently this is going to be Alex Garland's final film for a while, because around March 2024, a month before the movie came out, a month before the movie's release, Garland stated that after this he's going to focus on writing and step back from directing for a while. And start writing films instead. So maybe this might be a good send-off for the directing career of his. So anyway, after the Civil War was shot and marketed, Civil War premiered at South by Southwest Film Festival on March 14, 2024, but would be released into the theaters in the United States by A24, and the United Kingdom it would be released by Entertainment Film Distributors on the same date. And when it released, the movie received positive reviews from critics, and so far at the box office, it's made about $64 million worldwide. Now, as for my reaction to the film, y'all know I did not want to see this film because it seemed like another political awareness message film, not a comedy one, a serious one. And I've seen stories of Civil War drama all over the news nowadays, so I didn't want to see another damn reality film in my face. But apparently people who went and saw the film were saying it was nothing like that at all. It was apparently a movie they enjoyed. So, originally you all know I was going to go see Challengers this weekend. but I decided to postpone seeing Challengers so I could go see this instead. How was it? Well, I'm actually glad I ended up going to see this after all, because this was easily the second best film of this year for me. Originally, that went to Godzilla X Con, and now Godzilla X Con is in third place. You see, guys, 2024 may not be great for horror movies so far, but it's getting good and better for other genres. Like, the discourse around this film is really fascinating, and it's incredible, it's incredible to really know. The trailers just were not that great. However, if you ignore the trailers, this story is actually more of a character-driven story than a story about drama. And it's the most intense way possible. Like, anything can randomly happen at any moment at the worst possible time. And that's all really constantly. And it's just one of those films that's really worth seeing on the big screen. Definitely one of the most immersive films that has been made this year. And it's really beautiful to look at. I would even, this is coming from someone who feared they would not love this movie, but I did. It has some, very wild universal implications, and it's not really entirely just limited to the US. After the viewer watches this film, some viewers would likely take some time to process the movie, and especially, the breathless first reactions, when it comes to A24 as a studio, I do enjoy A24 as a studio. Not too big on their horror stuff. With the horror stuff, Pearl, X, Hereditary, The Witch, The Lighthouse, I like those for their horror movies. When it comes to their non-horror films, I like them better as a non-horror studio, though. Because, when it comes to the non-horror stuff they've done some great projects. Everything Everywhere at Once, I love that movie. Uncut Gems, I love that movie. The Disaster Artist, I love that movie. Room from 2015, that stars Brie Larson. I still enjoy that movie. That Room is a film where I can separate art from the artist. Because I do, as much as I'm, not a Brie Larson fan, I enjoy her character in that movie. And the chemistry she has with Jacob. I enjoyed The Whale with Brendan Fraser. Love that film. So yeah, I do enjoy A24 when they're doing not. Oh, right. The Iron Claw. I love The Iron Claw with Zac Efron recently. That's going to get a review soon. I did see that. I did finally watch Iron Claw, guys. That's another A24 non-horror film I liked. And I'm pissed off that did not get nominated for Best Picture, but somehow Poor Things did. Bullshit. Iron Claw should have got all the praise and recognition Poor Things got, not that crappy movie. Poor Things was better. Fuck Poor Things. Shitty, boring, overrated, artsy, fartsy fucking flick. Now on back to this review. I expected this just to be another in-your-face movie of politics, but this was not. That's definitely not the movie I thought I was going to get. You actually focus on characters more. You focus on a story. And here, the whole politics stuff, it's actually not very that political. And sometimes when it gets political here, it works. It's not, pretentious. It's not just thrown in your face. It's actually, you actually get to focus on characters. Here, you focus more on character build-up and focus more on a story. You focus more on a realistic concept and real consequences that could come with a concept like this. Throughout this movie, you go on the road with two reporters. We never really get the information who's fighting for what. You just have two parties fighting for the U.S. But movie's not really about America. Apparently, this film is about the whole world. The politicians in this movie, they take advantage of people not happy with this, and they turn people against one another. Alex Garland, masterfully weaves, historical echoes to the film. And and this movie really does bring up the haunt of the original Civil War. It's not some history lesson. It's this nightmarish reality. You have to, confront the consequences of America's divisions they're going through so far. Yeah, they don't just spoon-feed the audience. You get uncomfortable little moments here. Now, how does this movie start? Well, we all know the movie starts. A civil war erupts between the authority of the United States government and various regional fractions. And then you meet our character, the president, played by Nick Offerman, serving this third term. And he says that they're close to victory. And then we meet then of course, we meet our actual main characters. Lee Smith, renowned war photographer. And then of course, Lee Smith, who's actually Kirsten Dunst's character. She had at this suicide bombing at Brooklyn, New York. She saves this photojournalist named Jesse. Our two main characters, Lee and her colleague Joel, they're planning to go to Washington, D.C. because they want to interview, photograph the president before the city falls and goes downhill. Then you see Lee's mentor, Sammy, who asks to accompany them as far as Charlottesville. And then the Western forces of Texas and California, they're also assembling there. Even though Lee's a little bit hesitant, she and Joel do agree to that. Although what Lee doesn't know, though, is that Jessie secretly, the girl from earlier, convinces Joel to take her with them as well. So thematically, Civil War throughout you know what you're about to get once the beginning happens. Civil War is quite a gut punch. You explore the dehumanizing effects of war, the erosion of the trust, and power of constant violence. And throughout every single scene in this movie, you get a sense of dread. There's glimpses of the unadulterated humanity, and there's a tense exchange between Lee and this lone soldier at a desolate outpost. And Kirsten Dunst, there's a scene where Kirsten Dunst in this movie delivers definitely the most heart-wrenching performance of her career. She perfectly conveys the years of war weariness in tear-filled glances, and it's Spiny that complements her brilliantly and portrays this character with the brutal realities of a conflict she barely understands and kind of just got dragged into. Speaking of the latter, MJ fans from the 2000s will definitely be happy to see Kirsten Dunst in a film again, because where have we ever seen? We have not seen her in a while since we last saw her. Most of us 90s people remember her from Jumanji as one of the two kids in that film. Also in the animated film Anastasia in the beginning. Also in the Joe Dante film Small Soldiers. Also loved that movie. Yeah, she was in a lot of childhood favorites of many 90s kids, so it'll definitely be refreshing for them to actually see her face in a movie again. And this is easily one of the best performances of her career. The use of sound in this movie, it is breathtaking. I don't think I've ever remembered that much films where you see this breathtaking use of sound. It really does well ripping the audience's ears and deafening silences to all the firefights in the movie that really just leave you attached to the screen. And the cinematic style of the movie is also really great. It makes you feel like you're really actually in this whole dystopia and you're actually in the scene. You don't get the lost tape footage shaky camera style here. You feel a lot like the whole final fight, kind of feel like you're actually in all the fights, in all the action scenes here. It's not an exciting action movie. No, it's actually, the action in this movie is very well done, very realistic, actually very, very haunting to watch whenever action does happen on screen. What makes the action more haunting is that sometimes they'll go quiet and sometimes they'll stop the action scene to show the pictures that get taken. And it's a very well done kind of moment right there. And I love how the Civil War gets explained here. It's basically through the eyes of news reporters on the ground, not through political heads talking tough. There isn't so much political bullshit in this movie for those who are worried about that. No. You actually get to see it through a bunch of photographers here. And it's much like any war, it shows the effect of the people that get caught up in the middle of the struggle. So after the whole four get in their car, they depart the city, but they have to go stop at a gas station that's protected by these armed men. Lee then decides to negotiate the purchase of fuel with Canadian dollars because they won't accept American dollars. Then Jesse, however, goes to a nearby car wash from behind, and apparently there's two men being tortured by the owners. And then it's revealed that they were being tortured because they were looters. Another owner actually does follow Jesse, but then Lee shows up and diffuses the situation and takes a photo of the man posed with his victims. Then when she leaves, Jesse basically blames herself for being too scared to take photos. Although, to be fair, like, when it comes to the character Jessie, this a girl, like, this girl surprisingly did not really piss me off that much. Like, I first thought she'd be like the character that, one of those characters that just really makes you mad, makes such stupid decisions. Like, no, you actually kind of do feel her struggle. She looks too young to be dragged into a situation like this. It's all like, you can actually feel the fear she secretly, how scared she secretly really is on this whole journey throughout the whole entire course of the film. Like, the actress who plays Jessie, like, really does a really well done job with the role. Then, after they leave the gas station, they go to an overnight stop closed to ongoing fighting. Then the group document the combat the next day as a where the militiamen are assaulting this building held by loyalists, and like throughout the movie, like sometimes they'll show a text that says the miles they're reaching to get to Washington, either 800 or 500, and finally 200. Throughout the film to show how closer they're getting to Washington. Then of course Lee even sees like Jesse's potential as a war photographer, and Jesse's photographing the guys that are they're captured and they're executing these captured soldiers. Then they continue on to their journey. Then they spend the night at a refugee camp, and then they pass through another small town there. And where we find out through this town, like, this is the one town in the movie they find that is actually not under a war. And because they have watchful guard, and the residents are actually still trying to live a normal life in blissful ignorance. Yeah, one of the quotes even summarizes it kind of perfectly. Did we just go for a time portal? Yeah, like, because, like, they're just surprised that, like, nobody's fighting in this town. The town does not look destroyed. Well, the only locations that looks clean and normal. And it turns out that town is just trying to ignore the news. So, yeah. Lee and Jesse then start to get closer. They start to bond a little more. They visit this local shop, and they try on a few clothes. And that's actually one of the best scenes of the film, because it actually feels like the few times they finally get to live a normal life they probably did before the whole Civil War happened. Right there. One of the few times they actually get to have a bit of a normal life, not having to take pictures of war. Then after they leave that town, they drive for this little like destroyed Christmas fair. Then they get pinned down in a sniper battle at the remains of that fair. And then the snipers show up, and they literally mock Joel's attempts to ascertain the party they're fighting for against, and they tell Joey that they're literally in a nearby house and engaged in a struggle for survival. Then this builds Jessie's nerves, and her photography skills do start to improve as she starts to witness several deaths, and even develops a mentorship under Lee. And Jessie asks if Lee would literally photograph Jessie being killed, and Lee implies that she probably would. Yeah, some people will probably complain that this movie's not 2.5 hours, or we didn't see how the whole Civil War started and how it all formed, but no. We don't need to see that whole point of the movie because it's not important. Not everything needs to be explained all the time. Sometimes it's better when you don't know how it happened. Like, yeah, every film is made to have a specific story, but they're really created to make you feel something. The cause of the war itself is not that important. You don't need to know how it happened. Yeah, no. That's not the whole point of the movie. It's not to show how it all happened. Like especially when you have this stunning sound design on this, and even though it does feel a bit too loud though, but it's supposed to be kind of loud though. It's supposed to be kind of realistic. It's not supposed to be an exciting action movie. You get put into the thick of action with these reporters or photographers, and you get the idea what they're going through and how they feel and how they're trying to stay sane. Now they're trying to get through this whole horrifying journey they have to get through to get to their destination. And you wrap your head around how they easily do it. Like, the violence is raw and realistic. Like, this is not the violence that's supposed to make you excited or happy. Like, yeah, these guys are going to get what they deserve. No. Technically speaking, it's not done to make you happy. It's done to make you actually feel disturbed and depressed. And there's actually a lack of Hollywood-esque deaths. And it actually shows the brutality of actual war deaths here. Like, This is harrowing, it's haunting, you even get that claustrophobic feeling with the sense of impending doom with us anytime they get on the road. You don't know, like, something could happen at any time. They're driving through a literal war zone. It all combines to this movie that's just, it's definitely not an easy film to watch for many people, but definitely not an easy film to look away from. And yeah, it does get pretty violent. Like, it's not like gory violence. No, not like gore bath. Like, it's just realistic violence and scenes of cruelty. And it shows what would happen if society would go through a civil war today in today's world. Like, and you're gonna find just, and this movie might also not apply to people that think they're just gonna get a war movie with clear battles and heroes and villains and just trying to be a typical war movie. Like, no, you're not gonna get that with this movie though, and that might disappoint some people, but it's not that kind of movie. And most of the soldiers you see here, they wear the same uniforms because they're all from America forces. Yeah. And it shows like lots of war crimes do happen on any side, not just different sides. They could all be the same side they all happen on. Yeah, like, it's a road trip movie that introduces many different faces of America during a time of turmoil. You see the West Virginia gas station attendants with ARs that gouge passerby and torture and kill people that try to shoplift or steal. Yeah, like, and even during the whole driving, they even, like, now, after they got through the Christmas fair, once we get back, now our, like, photographers, they have encountered two other reporters that you don't see meet these guys in the beginning of the film either. While they're driving, though, they encounter two other reporters that they do know. Their names are Tony and Bohai. And Tony and Jesse, like, at first it seems like you think it's another enemy that's pursuing them. They try to drive fast, so they're already prepared for enemies pursuing them, but then it turns out it's people they actually do know, and they're surprised, like, you scare the shit out of us. And yeah, like, Tony and Jesse playfully switch vehicles, though, so you do get another bit of happy bonding moment right there, because these two are basically clearly friends. But then when Bohai and Jesse do switch vehicles, sadly, when Jesse switches vehicles, though, her and the other driver, Bohai, soon as they switch, they immediately get captured by militants that are dumping civilian corpses in this mass grave. And the rest of the group then immediately tries to intervene. But this one militant that's xenophobic is like, kills Bohai immediately. And you can even feel the fear on Jesse's face. Another well-acted performance right there. She actually fears she's going to die, like, in this whole scene. Yeah, then after that, the xenophobic militant asks where theirs are from. Then Tony says he's from Hong Kong. Like, as soon as he says he's from Hong Kong, in one of the most unexpected moments of the film, BAM! Tony is fucking shot. As soon as he says he's from Hong Kong. And not from America. Just the most random moment of fear. Boom! Not from America, dead. But then Sammy manages to save the group, though, and runs over to the militants. Like, and honestly, like, the film does go quiet there when, like, Jesse ends up, like, on this, trying to crawl for this pit of dead bodies. Like, I could even hear people shocked into fear and gasping in fear throughout the entire film. Like, yeah. And when she does get out, though, she escapes unharmed. So the group escapes, but unfortunately, Sammy of the group is the first to die because of that group anyways, not of the other drivers they met. Because he gets shot by this third militant, and unfortunately he sits in the back and pretty much bleeds to death in the back and dies when they flee. So now, after unfortunately Sammy is dead, the three remaining ones, they have arrived at the Western Forces military camp in Charlottesville, and they're all grieving Sammy. No, they're all grieving the people they've lost. In different ways. Like Lee's friend, Lee's friend is grieving Tony stuff, and the other two are also grieving Sammy as well. Yeah, and like, you can even tell Jesse's even kind of blaming herself for this, and so for all this, and getting these people, thinking like she got these people killed. So yeah, before Sammy's corpse is disposed of, Lee takes a photo of it, but he deletes it shortly after, she deletes it shortly after Joel kind of gets drunk, and it gets really hysterical. And Jesse like goes around the campsite, and you see two fellow reporters like informing the group that the government's defenders have apparently surrendered, and now Washington is unprotected. So they now have an opportunity to get into Washington with no problems, and they can now get that picture with the president. So our three main characters follow the WF Army, and Jesse's photography becomes increasingly really risky though, and Lee's starting to have post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD for short, episode, and is now unable to take any more pictures. After everything she's already gone through throughout this whole journey, almost getting shot, almost getting killed a few times, or just running into really dangerous looking people. So yeah, you can really feel Kirsten Dunst's terrified performance right here. She doesn't really show she's terrified, but she's really starting to become too scared to take any more pictures and get in any more trouble. So yeah, it's a very well made film. Like it combines many elements of stuff like since it's from one of the people that made 28 Days Later, it combines 2002's 28 Days Later with the breakneck street level frightening kinetic action of that film. And apparently it's a thing with Alex Garland with this kind of film work. I have not seen Ex Machina. I've heard Men was bad, so I did not watch it. But I have seen 28 Days Later, and it really feels like the tone of that film. And like for those like fearing it would get political, it's not. It's pretty much apolitical. And we see like random factions of committing revolting acts of violence. We don't get much information which side they're on. You just know the concept. They're all in a civil war. It shows the horror of people turning against one another. Instigators are now pretty much going to lie low. They have to wait it out, and the people of the nation are killing their own. It really shows what a civil war can do to humanity. Yeah, so that's why director Alex Garland really deserves praise for this movie. Like the black and white photos, they attribute to the press photographer characters. They freeze the action for a few seconds. It makes the scenes more intense. I really love that part. Like I love that they stop the action for a bit to show like the pictures as if sounds like a camera taking the pictures to make the scene that's a little more terrifying, more scary, and very well realistically well done. And the still shots are even held long enough to remind you that the real world really presents something frightful in those frozen moments. And another thing I forgot to mention about the runtime, like the film is surprisingly pretty short. It's really not that long, and yeah, it's about like 108 or 109 or 100 minutes at best, without the credits, or around like the 109-minute mark. Yeah, even though it's 109 minutes, it surprisingly feels a lot shorter than that. Because like in those 109 minutes, you see all sorts of chaos there. And after a 109 minutes of pure chaos, you get to the finale, and how does the movie end? Well, guess what, guys? Our three leads, with a score from the army, they have now got to Washington, and Washington is a fucking war zone. Right there, like the Washington momentum is getting destroyed or falling down to the ground. Buildings are being blown up. And you now get to the besieged capital, where the president's limousine unsuccessfully tries to flee the White House grounds with escort, but then Lee intuits that the president's still in the building. And so her group goes inside. The White House, like the army follows, and they face off with the remaining White House Secret Service people. And you see it's a bit of an action scene right here where soldiers and White House people are shooting at each other, but it's not supposed to be epic. It may seem like it'd be an epic moment, but it's really not supposed to be epic at all. And during one of the most shocking moments of the movie, Jessie ends up literally exposing herself to gunfire to get a photo of the ensuing gunfight in the West Wing, but Lee just pretty much immediately pushes her to safety, and you don't really see, it's not like a typical Hollywood death where she's shot. No, how she gets killed, Jessie literally, you see her death through photographs in pure silence. She's photographing her mentor just getting shot by the crossfire, falling to the ground, and the scene takes place through, picture motion. Right there, and I think it would be better. If this was just a typical Hollywood death scene, I don't think it would really be that shocking or really creative here, and that's just easy. Throughout this whole movie, there's many moments that really deserve the jaw-drop reactions from the audience. In my theater, guys, the theater was almost sold out, And literally, like, whenever something scenes like this happen, like, people were just like, whenever something crazy like this happened, like, you could tell this movie really affected my audience I was with. Here, like, a movie like this should definitely affect your audience right here. It's how you really build the good tension right here. So, sadly, Lee's been shot and killed. And now that just leaves us with Joel and Jesse left. And now we get back to the president character again. And surprisingly, we don't really see much of him in this movie. Like, we do hear his voice on the radio one bit or something like that. And other than that, like, he's just in like 2 scenes. Nothing, like, just the beginning and the ending. So we don't really get much of his character. I don't think we're supposed to, though. But yeah, after the whole shootout, the WF soldiers and Joel and Jesse do manage to make it to the Oval Office, and they capture the president. Joel tells him to stop because he needs to get a quote, and he needs to get his picture with the president first before anything else can happen. Like, the president, like, you know, obviously the president is corrupt in this movie, and, like, he's already terrified for his life. Like, please, Joel, don't, please. It's like pretty much begging Joel, please don't let them kill me. Like, he's begging a guy he barely knows. Like, he knows he's fucked now, and, like, but of course, Joel does not save his life at all. It's kind of clear, like, it's pretty much clear that after everything Joel's gone through, he lost Lee, he's now lost Sammy, he's lost his 2 friends, he's not giving a shit anymore. He's pretty much like, that'll do. And he pretty much lets the soldiers kill him. And Jesse literally takes a photo of the president's execution, and you don't see it as a death scene, you just see it through picture motion right there. So yeah, because, like, if it was just because once again, even if that was a Hollywood death scene, it wouldn't really be all that enjoyable. To be fair. And right there, guys, like, that's where the movie ends. Like, and for, like, during the credits, you actually see this developing photo of WF soldiers smiling, and they're posing with the president's dead body. Yeah, so that's how Civil War the movie ends. Like, Sammy and Lee are sadly killed during their whole trek to get to Washington. The former was wounded by an extremist, and the latter was killed by Secret Service agents trying to save Jesse. And during the White House, especially during the White House shootout at the end, the Western forces have now invaded Washington. They've murdered a woman implied to be the First Lady, and this unarmed Secret Service negotiating has now surrendered. And the president himself is now dead, and Joel only gets a brief quote from the president instead of a full interview because now there's no time for an interview, and he probably does not care about getting the interview. I mean, his friends are dead now, so he's got no reason for that interview now. And then the president has been executed now, and Jesse's now all hardened from all the hell she went through on this whole road trip. Now, like, she has just lost her sanity at this point. And now, it's all ambiguous what's going to happen to the state of the whole Civil War. And I don't think, like, the president's dead, but I don't think, like, the war in this movie will ever end. Like, and given how we saw the state of America in this movie, it's definitely likely the U.S. in this movie will become a failed state. And now everyone will turn on each other even more because the president is now dead. It pretty much ends on a downer note. It's definitely not a happy ending. And it definitely shows war is no happy ending. Right there, war is actually a very serious, tragic thing. And honestly, like, even though this movie does end on a downer note, I wasn't really surprised because going into this, I kind of knew how it was going to end. Either the end of America collapses for good, or it was either that, or either prediction was the lead characters were probably all going to die. Yeah, those were my predictions. Like, I was never predicting a happy ending for this film when going into it. And it turned out the president was the one who dies. And even that's not supposed to be the president's a corrupt person in this movie, and it's still not supposed to be a happy ending. So it is really a downer. And it really works like that because it's really simple. And, like, it's one of those downer endings that actually does work for being simple, and it's not done overly pretentious as many horror films. Like, this is a downer ending that actually works. You can't give this movie a happy ending. It would not be great. It would not sit well for a movie like this. There's no way you can give this a happy ending. It's impossible. There's films that, when you do a downer ending right and simple, it works well. Like Saw had a downer ending. That worked very well. People loved that. Seven had a downer ending. That worked. The Basic Instinct had a downer ending, and that worked. Joker had a freaking downer ending, even though that was supposed to be. The downer ending of that movie worked. Hell, Uncut Gems, another A24 movie, had a downer ending, and that works. Well, it works very well, because, like, when Adam Sandler's character died in that movie, it did not feel lazy and not feel pretentious. It actually really felt like the only way it would go out for his character. Like, what else can I think of? Oh, man. What other downer endings works, man? But yeah, there's downer ending. The Empire Strikes Back ends on a downer note. There's lots. Yeah, even though, like, technically that's the middle of the trilogy, that's supposed to end on a downer note, but the downer ending of Empire Strikes Back works beautifully. There's, like, so I don't hate every single downer ending, guys. There's downer endings that, when done right, they will work. When you do them right, you'll actually succeed in doing a good downer ending. So yeah, now, Civil War, once again, easily the second best movie this year. It's easily the second best A24 movie in my eyes, and I will forever call this one of the best films of the 2020s. You should definitely go see this in the theaters because, so it's not a political movie. You should definitely go watch this in the theaters because it is very well worth it. It's a terrific experience. So in the end, guys, Civil War, it's totally worth buying if you're willing to see a political-looking film that is actually against political stuff, and it shows the horror of real-life scenarios like this. Anyways, guys, that's it for my review of Civil War. If we're going to rank Civil War, here's how I'm going to rate this movie. So overall, if you love Alex Garland's other works, you'll probably easily love Civil War, especially if you want to see a modern like Red State if you've seen that film, and see a realistic action film that's more serious. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Civil War, I'm going to give Civil War a 9.5 out of 10. And there we go, guys. That wraps up my review for Civil War. So, I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about this movie. Did you love it or did you hate it? And if you consider one of your favorite films of 2024 or one of your least favorite films of 2024. Tell me down in the comments down below. So I'm interested in seeing your guys' opinions. But until then, guys, that will be it for this movie review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.